Welcome back. Well, the news of her death back in July shocked the millions of Amy Winehouse fans around the world, of course, and it was heartbreaking for her family and friends, and especially the music producer she worked so closely with, Mark Ronson.
Now Amy is top of the album charts again. Mark, along with one of the star's other long-term producers, Salam Remy, have pulled 12 songs together from thousands of hours of material. Mark Ronson joins us now. Welcome to the programme.
Hi.
Nice to see you back. Before we chat to him, let's have a listen to the first single on the album, Our Day Will Come. It was recorded in 2002. Here it is. Welcome to the programme. Very poignant it must be, listening to the stuff that Amy recorded way back.
Yeah, you know what, to be honest, even with this record, it's hard for me to listen to the whole thing from start to finish. So there's still songs on this new album that I haven't listened to in total, but I mean, it's a great piece of music. It's an insight into, as an album, it's an insight into the songs she loved. She really was an encyclopedia of these old jazz and soul standards, and she could pick up a guitar and play any of them. So that song, A Song for You, you know, those are just, that's her kind of musical DNA. And
you were a bit reluctant to get involved in the project, weren't you?
Yeah, I said no initially because I knew that they would have great material. You know, Salam has been working with her since the Frank days, and I didn't know if they necessarily needed what I had to give, and I was a bit soon for me to spend that time, you know, just listening to her voice on loop, like how you do when you're in the studio working on a record. And then I heard this vocal that she'd recorded for Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, and I just thought, this is really special and great, and I want to be a part of this and make one more piece of something magical with Amy.
Mm. You did an interview for The Observer where you talked about the time that you spent with Amy when she was at the London clinic, and you said how important that time was for you, and that it actually was quite an uplifting time, and you loved spending, it was like sort of having a sleepover at one of your mates' houses.
It was, I guess, because it was one of the few times after Back to Black broke open and she became, you know, the subject of this media frenzy. It was one of the few times that you could just hang out with her and not have cameras or people waiting outside the house or anything, because we'd just be hanging out in her, I guess I nearly said hotel room, her hospital room. It felt like a hotel room. And I'd go over to Argos and like buy her an electric piano, and we'd hang out and watch TV. So yeah, those were, you know, the times that we had before she became this megastar, and the few times that we got to ourselves, those were the kind of times I remember the most and were quite special.
When you're working on music like this, in other words, posthumously with an artist, how much work needs to be done? What is the raw material that you have? Do you put backing tracks on later, or do you split everything up and start again? Or
I was just given, there was a whole song, but all I did was I just pulled the vocal and then wrote an arrangement around
which song was this now?
For Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow.
Which has got a very sort of dramatic staccato snare drum.
Yeah.
Different flavour to Carole King's.
Very nice. Yeah, it was. And when Darkest asked me to do the Darkest is who signed Amy to Island and who I've been working with since Back to Black, and he said, I want you to do Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, and I was like, well, it's not going to be like this upbeat, peppy song. I'm going to do it, you know, this kind of Back to Black, you know, fashion. And it's a really, you know, it's one of the most covered songs of all time, and I thought we had to do something to put our own stamp on it. And I still say our own, like, as in me and Amy, because that's how I think of it when we make music, you know. So I knew I had to make something that she would be proud of now. And, you know, when you used to go over to her house, you would see the only CDs she'd have in her collection were 60s girl groups and hip-hop, like modern rap music. And I wanted to make something that would slot right in the middle there, that, you know, that she would be proud of to listen to at home.
Yeah, and be faithful to what you both have done before. We're going to have a quick listen to Valerie now, which of course won so many awards. Here it is.
The big hit version of Valerie. There's another version actually on the album that's just come out.
Yeah. Basically, all these brilliant musicians that had played on Back to Black, Amy had never met them because she had gone off back to London when we actually recorded the backing tracks. And so I took her in Brooklyn one day to the studio to meet all these people. And we just went in the room, and I was working on an album of covers at the time, and I said, do you know any songs you want to cover? And she said, well, I like the song Valerie by the Zootons, and I'd actually never heard of it. And so we quickly gave it a quick listen, you know, recorded this really soulful version. And then as everyone's about to pack up their guitars and leave the room, I said, let's just do one more with the drum beat going like dunk, 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 you know, and that's the one that we just heard. And the first one, the original one that we did, was the way that she really loved it. and that we all kind of loved it, but we just knew that sounded a bit more like a poppy hit.
So it's the first
The original one,
the one that's
that's
now
So the
on
one that she
album.
liked is on the album.
The one that she liked and the one the band liked. The one we all liked the most is on this new album, you know, Lioness, and then we put that one out as the kind of guilty pleasure, but, you know, it's still good.
Well, it's a tremendous tribute actually to
is.
her talent and to the talent of all of you putting it together, because it is tremendous
It's
music.
lovely listen. Thank you,
very
Mark.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Mark Ronson.
The album Lioness, Hidden Treasures, Amy Winehouse, is out now.